Some nights carve themselves into your soul, lingering like a melody that echoes long after the music fades. That night was one of them, a pivot point where everything shifted, where hidden truths surfaced and reshaped the world. I was 22, Emily, crashing in the spare bedroom at Sophie's place, a cozy suburban home I'd known since we were kids, trading friendship bracelets and secrets under the covers. The neighborhood was the epitome of quiet suburbia, manicured lawns, the faint buzz of streetlights, and the occasional dog barking in the distance. Starlight filtered through the curtains, casting silvery patterns on the faded floral comforter I'd bundled around myself. Sleep eluded me. My mind was a whirlwind, thoughts tumbling like leaves in an autumn gust. Sophie and I had been inseparable since kindergarten. We'd met on the playground, her with her wild curls and infectious laugh, me with my scraped knees and boundless energy. We'd built forts in her backyard, hosted pretend tea parties with stuffed animals, and navigated the awkwardness of middle school together, braces, crushes, and all. Her house was my second home, a haven from my own family's chaos. Holidays there were magical, Thanksgiving feasts with turkey and all the trimmings, Easter egg hunts that turned into epic adventures. One Easter when I was 11, Laura, Sophie's mom, gave me a small basket filled with art supplies, colored pencils, sketch pads, and a set of watercolors. "I noticed you doodling in your notebook last time you were over," she said, her voice warm like fresh-baked cookies, her green eyes sparkling with that quiet kindness that always made me feel seen. "Thought you might like to create something beautiful." I spent afternoons in their sunlit kitchen, splashing colors onto paper while Laura hummed old folk tunes and stirred pots on the stove. She'd peek over my shoulder, offering gentle suggestions. "That shade of blue really captures the sky, Emily," she'd say, and I'd beam, feeling a spark of pride that lit me up inside. Summers were even better. Pool parties in the backyard, the sizzle of hot dogs on the grill, Laura in her sundress, flipping them with effortless grace. I'd catch her glancing my way sometimes, a soft smile playing on her lips as I splashed around with Sophie, or Dove for pool toys. Back then I didn't understand the flutter in my chest. I just knew it made the world feel a little brighter, a little more alive. When I was 18, I came out to Sophie. We were in her room, sprawled on the floor with pizza boxes and rom-coms paused on the TV. "So, I like girls," I blurted out, my heart pounding as I fiddled with a napkin. She looked up from her slice, cheese stringing from her mouth, and tilted her head. "Okay, cool. Does that mean I have to fight off all the girls who'll be crushing on you now?" She grinned, and just like that, the tension dissolved. No drama, no judgment, just Sophie being her unflappable self. I never mentioned it to Laura, though. It didn't seem relevant, or maybe I was afraid it would change things. Until that night, when it became everything. The evening had started ordinarily enough. Sophie and I were in the living room, binge-watching our favorite fantasy series, yelling at the screen about plot twists and shipping characters. Laura popped in to say goodnight, her robe tied loosely, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Don't marathon the whole season, you two," she teased, her laugh light but laced with that maternal warmth. I muttered a good night without meeting her eyes because lately, those eyes stirred something in me I couldn't name, something deep and unsettling. Sophie dozed off on the couch mid-episode, her soft snores filling the room. I turned off the TV and headed upstairs to the guest room, a quaint space with a twin bed, a vintage dresser, and walls adorned with faded posters from Sophie's childhood. I slipped under the covers, scrolling through social media on my phone, trying to drown out the restlessness. That's when the knock came, soft, tentative, like a question rather than a demand. The door eased open, and there was Laura, silhouetted in the hallway light. She was in a simple nightgown, her arms crossed as if hugging herself. "Emily, are you still up?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Yeah," I replied, propping myself up on my elbows, the blanket pooling around my waist. "Can't seem to wind down. Everything all right?" She hesitated in the doorway, then stepped inside, closing the door with a gentle click that felt intimate, charged. "Mind if I sit?" she asked, gesturing to the edge of the bed. "Of course not." My voice came out steadier than I felt. She perched there, close enough that I could catch the faint scent of her lavender lotion, soothing and familiar. Her hands fidgeted in her lap, twisting a loose thread on her sleeve. Laura, who was always the picture of composure, organizing school fundraisers, baking for neighborhood events, was visibly nervous. It unnerved me. "I've been struggling with something," she began, her words measured, like she was testing them out. "And I think you're the only person I can talk to about it." My pulse quickened. "What's wrong?" "You can tell me anything." She drew a deep breath, her shoulders rising and falling. "I think I might be a lesbian." The confession hung in the air, vulnerable and raw. I'd sensed fragments over the years, those lingering gazes during family dinners, the way she'd light up when talking about strong female characters in books or movies. But hearing it aloud was a revelation. "Have you told anyone else?" I asked gently, my mind racing. "No," she said, shaking her head. "Not Mark, not Sophie." I wouldn't know where to start. Mark was Sophie's dad, a kind but distant man who worked long hours in finance. I reached out instinctively, placing my hand over hers. "I get it. It's terrifying at first. When I came out to Sophie, I was a wreck. But she just accepted it. Made a joke about it even. It gets easier once you say it out loud." Laura's eyes met mine, a mix of relief and fear swirling in them. She squeezed my hand, her touch warm and grounding. "Sophie's like that, resilient. And you? You've always been so brave, Emily. So open." "Thanks," I murmured, my throat tightening. "You don't have to go through this alone. I'm here if you need to talk or just be." She nodded, but her grip didn't loosen. "There's more to it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's not just about me figuring this out. It's about you. I have feelings for you. Romantic ones. The world tilted me. Laura with her effortless elegance, her life so put together, feeling something for me. I'd harbored a crush on her for years, subtle at first, blooming into something undeniable as I grew older. The way she'd make me feel special, valued. But this? You... Really?" I stammered, my voice cracking. "Yes, you," she affirmed, a faint smile breaking through her anxiety. I've tried to ignore it, push it down. Told myself it was admiration or just fondness for Sophie's best friend. But it's more. It's always been more. I stared at our intertwined hands, her slender fingers laced with mine, and felt a rush of emotion, joy, fear, disbelief. "I felt the same," I confessed, the words tumbling out. "For so long. I never thought, you're Sophie's mom. It seemed impossible." Her breath hitched, and for a moment we just sat there, the silence thick with unspoken years. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I don't want to pretend anymore. This feels real." "Neither do I," she agreed, her eyes shimmering. "I'm exhausted from hiding." The room felt smaller, the air electric. She shifted closer, our thighs brushing, sending a spark through me. Her hand cupped my cheek, thumb tracing my jawline. "Emily," she murmured, her voice husky. "Can I hold you? Just for a minute?" I nodded, words failing me. She drew me into her arms, and it was clumsy at first, my head bumping her shoulder, her embrace tentative. But then I melted into her, my face nestled against the crook of her neck, inhaling her scent. Her arms encircled me firmly, one hand stroking my back in slow, soothing circles. She trembled slightly, and I realized this was new for her, uncharted territory after years in a straight marriage. "I've never felt this way before," she whispered into my hair. "Not with anyone." "Me too," I replied, my voice muffled against her. "Not like this." We held each other for what felt like hours, the only sounds our synchronized breathing and the distant hum of the house settling. When we finally pulled apart, tears glistened on her cheeks. I wiped one away with my fingertip, and she caught my hand, pressing a soft kiss to my palm. "Thank you for listening," she said. "For not pulling away? I couldn't, I said fiercely. I wouldn't. She rose reluctantly, smoothing her nightgown. I should go. Before anyone wakes up. Yeah, I agreed, though every part of me wanted her to stay. At the door, she turned back. This is just between us for now. Of course, I promised. She slipped out, leaving the room echoing with her presence. I lay awake until dawn, replaying every word, every touch. The vulnerability in her eyes, the warmth of her embrace, it was intoxicating, terrifying. Morning came too soon. I trudged downstairs to find Sophie at the kitchen table, munching on toast and scrolling her phone. Laura was at the counter, pouring coffee, her demeanor composed as ever. But when our gazes met over the rim of her mug, a spark ignited. Secret. Shared. You look like you didn't sleep a wink, Sophie teased. Oblivious. Rough night, I said, accepting a cup from Laura. Our fingers grazed, and a shiver ran down my spine. As I left for home, Laura walked me to the door. Emily, she said softly, out of earshot. I meant every word. I need time to process this, but I want to see where it goes. Take all the time you need. Take all the time you need, I replied. I'm not going anywhere. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen glances and unspoken tension. At Sophie's family barbecue a month later, the air was thick with it. Mark grilled steaks, Sophie bantered with relatives, but Laura and I orbited each other like magnets. A brush of hands while passing plates, a shared smile across the table. It was thrilling, dangerous. Laura took her time unraveling her life. She started therapy, journaling late into the night, confronting decades of suppressed feelings. Coming out to Mark was brutal. Arguments that echoed through the house, tears that soaked pillows. He was hurt, confused, but eventually they parted amicably, focusing on co-parenting Sophie. Telling Sophie was harder still. Laura sat her down one evening, voice steady despite the quake inside. Honey, I'm a lesbian and I'm seeing someone. Emily. Sophie's reaction was a storm. Shock, anger, betrayal. My best friend? Mom, how could you? She stormed out silent for days. But Sophie, ever resilient, came around. One rainy afternoon, she showed up at my door. This is weird as hell, she said, hugging me tightly. But if you make her happy... And you're happy. I guess I can deal. With the truth out, Laura and I blossomed. Our first real date was a quiet picnic in the park, sandwiches, wine, laughter under the oaks. We talked for hours, dreams, fears, the paths that led us here. Months turned to a year. Walks hand in hand became routine. Movie nights curled on the couch, travels to quaint bed and breakfast where we could just be. One crisp fall evening, as we strolled along a leaf-strewn path, Laura stopped and pulled me close. I never imagined this life, she said, her eyes shining. But with you it feels right, complete. Me too, I whispered, kissing her softly. It wasn't flawless. Life threw curveballs like navigating family dynamics or societal whispers. But it was authentic, forged from that fateful knock. If you're holding back your truth, afraid of the fallout, remember, some nights change everything. They break walls and build bridges. Take the leap. The other side might just hold the love you've been waiting for.